The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Wednesday, the 6th day of April, 2022. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Linda's. I'm Jamel Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpool, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sherry, it's the middle of the traditional work week, closer to the weekend, and you're dancing.
Yeah, I stand on the hump heel and just look over and I'm like, I see you, weekend.
Oh, well, Sherry sent me a voice note on the past weekend, right? So I can see why she's looking forward to the weekends, folks, because she was out partying. You know how they say Sunday fun day? Well, it was some levels to the Sunday fun day I heard on that voice note, folks.
And he is not lying. It was awesome.
Some levels. Well, I just hope everyone gets to actually enjoy weekends the way that I heard Sherry enjoying hers, because everybody looks forward to them. And then you end up doing more work at home than you probably did at the job that you don't love. Yeah, I said you don't love.
Say it again.
Yeah. Honestly, folks, I get it. But yeah, it's Wednesday. So greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. Another good one today, as we have Tamicia, Darrell, and Necheeka Trott stopping by to discuss the Bermuda Educators Council. The daily play is music today, so let's see if Sherry gets this one.
I got it yesterday.
Let's talk about that. So, her Sancha needed a little help, and Sherry must have stepped away talking about, I knew the answer was 1976, and I'm like,
I did.
You know what you remind me of? You remind me of myself. Well, not myself, because I actually would do it if I was on Wheel of Fortune. I got it right. But you remind me of those people who watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune at home and think it's all easy and I'm got the answer. I know the answer. But then when you get on stage, it's like
stage fright.
But no, it's an energy there, and you're talking about, can I get a B? And it's obvious it's a D, it's dog, but you're saying B. That's who you are. You're one of the audience people.
No, and I'll be very honest. I didn't know much about Clarence Hill, pre all of this Olympic stuff. So I did get to learn a lot about him, and I knew what year. And I was like, 1976. I was so many years old at the time. So I was like, oh wow.
You were alive in 1976,
yeah?
However, I forget.
However, you were,
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. And no, I'm not the same height I was in 1981, folks. But anyway, let's move on. Hey, before we bring in our guest for the day, we're going to have a conversation. So obviously, Leanna will speak more about the swearing-in ceremony or new ministers or whatever we want to call it. But the premier didn't have his allow the what they call the media to ask questions at Government House, which I thought was fair, based on what happened when he unveiled Senator Emily Gail Deal, because it really took away from the occasion, the back and forth between him and the reporter Sean Connolly. Now, yesterday, I'm not here to give free rides, but yesterday I just thought Mr. Connolly was out of order. And I think it was the snide remarks. Like, I can do it. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a journalist. Like, you're going to get snide remarks from me. I don't owe you anything. I don't have to be fair, unbiased, none of that, because I don't have the title of journalist or reporter. That's what Leanna does. She's just very safe in that space, and I respect that. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna offend you. Trust me. So, but the reporter, he kept saying, like if the premier said something, he made a snide remark like, "Well, that's not well, I stand by my story or my story," and I'm just like, "Nah, dog." Like it's almost like you're antagonizing the guy with trying to get him where he went last time. And I give credit to the premier. I give credit to him, and credit where it's due for handling it better. And I was thinking as the premier handled that better, and it's over, it's done. But people just keep putting it in my face on social media. But maybe Will Smith could learn a thing or two from Premier David Brett. Part two. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. That's not.
Okay. All right. Carry on.
With that said, Sherry, there was a new minister of national security, and it seems like the reporters were asking. I believe it may have been Jasmine Patterson from Bermuda Broadcasting there as well, but basically asking, and sorry, Mr. Connolly as well, asking, what is he intending to do to reduce crime? Like a lot of the stuff that he was saying seemed like the same things that former Minister Renee Ming had said, but what is he going to do? So the question of the morning to the audience, because we are a community, show, this audience, we are a community. And what we do every morning, what we do mornings is we come up with solutions and ways that are going to help our community. So what advice would you give to the new Minister of National Security regarding crime in Bermuda? What advice would you give the new Minister of National Security regarding crime in Bermuda? Because honestly, it's so easy to say, stick on the politics and just complain and say, oh, another cabinet reshuffle, the premier's this and that. Mother, I mean, it could be true, but I think we don't realize that some of the solutions to the problems that we face in our community are within all of us. So what are your thoughts? What do you think? Now, keep in mind, I'm going to give you this caveat. The government controls the purse for the police, meaning they fund it, but they don't control them. That would be the governor. So keep in mind, there's parameters that we work in. And so where the minister would be responsible would be legislation and policy, if I'm not mistaken. So what are your thoughts? What advice would you give to the new Minister of National Security regarding crime in Bermuda? Looks like Pastor Leroy Bean falls under the National Security Minister. What advice would you give to the Minister of National Security regarding crime in Bermuda? Sherry, what you got for us, sister?
It's a plethora of things. We have to recognize trends that are going on in the island, right? Back in my day, there was helmets, knives, machetes, and all of that. We progressed to guns. Now we're progressing back to knives. I do believe that, as I mentioned to you, Jamal, that we tend to mimic other areas. I know in the UK, that's what they tend to do, is use knives. The advice that I can give to the minister is to look at the trends that are going on and to disperse people that are appropriate in those areas to attack different things. We also need to go back to what is happening in our homes. What are it's not just information to the minister, but information to parents and stakeholders within the community on what they can do as well. And part of that is to educate our children about what is right and what is wrong. And then if you don't know that, hopefully there's somebody that can interject that information into a child to help them understand what is appropriate. The minister should be looking at the different policies and procedures that are in schools, should be looking at policies and procedures that we govern ourselves in regards to what family services is able to do. What do we have a juvenile detention source? I know we have, of course, you get in trouble, you go straight to prison or whatnot, right? What else does co-ed have to offer besides just a place where young people can be housed? And that would be what I would be interested in, because we don't seem to have any significant programs.
So you're thinking more after the fact and rehabilitation
And something before that. There needs to be something that interjects before that, but we also have to realize where we're at. And if we look at the news article that I forwarded to you yesterday in the Royal Gazette, if you look at the list of persons that have been injured, they're all teenagers. So what
Oh,
are
so
we doing?
you're talking about, Cher's talking about an incident at bus terminal where looks like a 13 and 14-year-old were involved in a stabbing incident.
Yes.
Well, I think I just remember when the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party won in 2017, and the then Minister of National Security, Wayne Keynes, to his credit, I think was actually, and I think Sanchez said it, he was probably one of the better national security ministers we've had. And I think Renee Ming was one of the better ones we had as well. I think that's where the PLP have gotten it right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I But I remember former Minister Kane saying that we were going to take a holistic approach, and I still to this day don't know what that really means.
Okay.
I don't think I understood what a holistic approach meant to crime. I don't know if it included Pastor Leroy Bean and the program that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I feel challenged with in Bermuda is that so often we're being told that things are being done to reduce crime, especially among young people. But I don't think the people feel it and see it. So when there's an incident like what happened on the weekend with these teenagers at the bus terminal, people do question because we're results people. Like we believe what we see and feel, right? So you
Correct.
telling us what you're doing or you telling us what's been done doesn't really do much unless we see it ourselves or feel it. So it's interesting. But the question of the morning, folks, what advice would you give the new Minister of National Security regarding crime in Bermuda? What are your thoughts? How can we reduce crime? How can we prevent crime? Is there any legislation or any policies that you would like to see that will bring about a safer Bermuda? Traveling Trotty, Sherry.
He needs to support MP Tanae Farber both on these ministries. Both of these ministries have to work together to tackle the underlying issues. Yeah.
Forgive me. What's her ministry? She's like Ministry of Senior and something.
I know she's over family services, and I know that the their titles are all different, Jamal. They seem to change all the time,
Yeah.
but I know she's over them.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
no, and I think that goes to the point that you were mentioning that the home, not just the minister, but the home. But I think okay, here we go. She's social development and seniors. So I think
Right.
that goes along with what I think the former minister Wayne Keynes meant with holistic, meaning maybe work with families who are having challenges with young people. But I think it
Mm-hmm.
should concern Bermudians when you see 13 and 14. And there are people that will say, oh, 13 and 14-year-olds have always been in fights and stabbing each other. It's just social media now. Well, folks, I didn't see it on social media. I saw it in the news. I saw it in the police press release, right? And, to Shara's point, things have evolved. Crime has evolved. And I don't think the idea of access to social media is the reason that we have crime. It's evolved. People used to get in a fight and then go their own ways. You'll see them at the bar drinking a couple years later when they grew up and became adults. Now it just seems a bit different. Like if we're getting into an altercation, we're going for the kill. Like there's no middle ground.
I think social media, of course, plays a role in fueling it.
Mhm.
I do feel that music also plays a role in fueling it as well. I believe that, as I said, it appears that children tend to want to mimic and do what they see, and because these things are so free flowing now, it's that they want to be a part of it and look like it and be it.
Mhm.
But we are not that community, and we are not that island that can support that type of issue.
Well,
Yeah.
sure. I've been hearing that for years, right? Like that. Oh, it's the TV, it's the music and whatnot. And I honestly, I've already said on this show, and I'll say it again. I don't really listen to music that doesn't support what I, believe. So there's
Hmm.
a lot of music I don't listen to. However, I enjoy a little gospel song here and there, and I've always enjoyed it. Don't make me want to go to church or become a Christian. I'm just being frank.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I think influence is different. I mean, it depends on the mind. Like the young mind is like a sponge, they say.
Hmm.
What they're listening to at what age. I just enjoyed being me, being different. Not every child's built like that. But I mean, you probably have a point. I mean, well, you do have a point, but
I do.
I see you do have a point, but I challenge it a bit because I think that there's choice. I always say you don't blame the drug, you don't blame the effects of the drug because each of us had a choice. Most of us had a choice before we took that drug,
You
knowing what it could possibly do to us.
you have to look at the household that you also was also brought up in, Jamal. It wasn't supported in that sense. So you had a foundation that indicated to you that this is not something that we do in this household. You have some households where you have parents that are along with the kids, singing every word and being continuously influenced by these images and different things that they
Mhm.
see. So it also depends on what household you're in and what mindset you are being given at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't give no credit to Sunday school. Good, because I argued with them. Some what they call them Sunday school teachers often. Didn't agree much. Sam Place says family services in Maui is a joke regarding rehab, so we are out of luck there. Minister Weeks needs to continue to work on the previous goals set by Minister Ming and work with Ministry of Social Development. Well, she didn't hold her words just now.
Wow.
Sister Spencer says, I don't remember 14-year-olds stabbing people when I was young. I don't either, Sancha, but there are people out there, mainly Twitter, that say, oh, not this is no different. It's just social media. I don't know. I don't remember it from when I was younger. Michael Daniels said, what is a realistic goal for youth violence? You answer the question we're asking. You let us know, Michael Daniels. Sancha Tai says, I definitely think music plays a part. Well, I don't disagree with Sheriff's point. I'm just saying. You don't see me in the pews on Sunday or Saturday because I like a little Kirk Franklin, Yolanda Adams. I'm not easily influenced, I guess. Look, that music.
and
Enjoy a cigar. Go ahead.
and of course, family services dear to my heart, but it's not meant for rehab. It's also meant to support families through abuse and neglect. So that's one thing. Maui has a whole separate different entity and different situation going on at this time. As far as 14-year-olds back then stabbing, and that's my point, there's been a trend. The trend tends to change over time. Like I said, back in the day, it was machetes and a good fist fight. Then it was helmets. Then it was guns. Now it's stabbings. It just all depends on what era that you're talking about that has was that big influence back in those times. But here we are.
All right. What advice would you give the new Minister of National Security regarding crime? Sheikha Rana says, work closely with schools out front and behind the scenes. Kids who are threatened or targeted should be able to change schools easily. That makes
What
sense.
school?
Oh, right. Because schools are going to there's not going to be much choice based on what I think I know, but we'll talk about that
Right.
more with Raji tomorrow. Sanchez says, I also think that when parents are allowing kids to listen to this music, they are not sitting them down and explaining what that song is about.
Love that, Sancha. I broke down a song to a teenager one time, and they were like, oh, it said something about Rikers Island. I said, do you know what Rikers Island is? And they
Well,
were like, no. I was like, but you're singing it as if you do. So that is very important for those things to be broken down for kids to understand what they're really singing about.
I'll one up you. I was working Radio Disney, one of my colleagues. So TOK's song, what's it called? Chichi Mamba or something. So
Mhm.
song came on, just dancing to it, sparring or whatever. And I'm like, you know what that means? She's like, no, it's a great song. Like, I told her, and she was like, oh no, I'm so hateful. Like, that's how she reacted. I'm like, I mean, for me, I never got up, and no offense, but I never got up when the reggaeton came on. I sat down. I didn't know what they were saying about me. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree, Jamel.
I'm not dancing to nothing I can't understand, folks. I'm just saying, like, if I don't know the and again, I'm very conscious like that. There's certain music I don't go for. Like, I was a fan of certain rap back in the day, but you don't come at me with like getting high and shooting up this and that, and like it's just not for me. And there's certain things as adults that we can do. As we get back to the question of the morning, advice for the national security minister. you know Sometimes the best thing to do is ask yourself, what would you say to him, and what can you do to make sure that you're part of the solution? For instance, one of the things I've always cherished when I was drinking alcohol pretty often is I didn't like to drink around children. If it was a
Mm.
party, like a family cookout or barbecue, I did not like children seeing me in that state, because I coached, I mentored. So just conscious decisions like that, um, we tend not even to think about, because they're seeing, we can say music, but children see us how we are, our personalities change from simply doing that stuff. So if we want to talk about music, think about the things we're doing around children that can influence them and make them think it's okay. You get me?
I do. And the thing about it, though, Jamal, I had a fleeting thought on my Sunday fun day and said, this is probably why Jamal says he doesn't drink. After
Wow.
I went back and listened to the voice notes.
You didn't delete the voice note, did you?
I will.
Oh, I haven't recorded it. I haven't saved it yet, folks. Let's go through a few more comments before we head out. Tommy Pacheco says, start the talk with kids from young. Some of these kids are going through some things at home and bringing it to school. And I mean 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Sancha Tai says it sparks their interest. Look at the whole Merle situation. It is triggered by rap music.
Yes,
And then
Sandra.
we have Hadley and Stevens the Swan. I was caught up in the beat. If the beat's on, but I'm banging walls and pots. My goodness, she is a party animal, folks. And Sam Cat Please says, kids just need to be taught the difference between entertainment and reality, what's logical and what is not. It really starts at home. He can think about what he would say to his kids or grandkids. Again, I don't think we
Yeah.
stuck to the question, like what advice you would give to the national security. Like, I don't think anyone really came with any policy or legislative idea, and that's okay. That's okay, because that just shows you how hard this job is. And I hope that's what you get out of this. I appreciate us looking at music and looking what's causing it. But the question was advice we would give. And the advice would be around legislation and policies. We don't know the
And
answers. That's okay. But
mhm.
understand that when things happen, we can't keep running to the government or the minister and expecting them to have all of the answers we're looking for, especially truthfully, when the police are controlled by the governor. No excuse, just the reality.
And I think we provided the minister with some foundation of different things to look at, that can be implemented into some of those policies and procedures and other areas that he can visit in regards to coming up with those policies and procedures. So, and if nothing else, as you said, Jamal, it's a hard job, and all the answers seem to appear of things that need to happen at home.
At home, folks. It's at home. And Sanchez says, I think they need to invest in solid programs. So let's bring Leanna in and see if Lee's got an opinion on this joint. Good morning, Lisa. How are you, sister?
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
So what you got for us? You want in on that?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Folks, hey, look, she's leaving well enough alone, folks. We got Necheeka and Tamicia coming up from Bermuda Educators Council after the news break. Man, I thought Lee was going to come in on that one.
Me too. I see it.
She like, over to you, Lee. It's just a safe space.
Because she one of those people like, yeah.
Oh, she loved that music. She loved that music. Banging pots and walls over her head. Over to you, Lee.
Thanks, Jamal and Sherry, and happy hump day to all of those of you who are tuned in with us today. I hope everyone is having a great start to this bright and sunny morning. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Well, in today's top stories, a cabinet reshuffle continues to emerge as Finance Minister and Premier David Burt welcomed 2 new ministers to the cabinet. Now, we reported yesterday that Premier Burt had announced the appointment of Vance Campbell as the new Minister of Tourism, while Michael Weeks had assumed the role of Minister of National Security. The official swearing-in ceremony was held yesterday afternoon with dignitaries, family, and friends present. Now, also among the cabinet changes, which the Premier says will best align with the ministries, is the e-commerce portfolio, which will move from being under the watch of the Premier and will now move to the Minister of Economy and Labor, Jason Hayward. Meanwhile, the Information and Digital Technologies portfolio and department of the same name will be moved from under the watch of the Premier also to the Minister for the Cabinet Office, which is Wayne Furbert. The liquor license portfolio will also move from the Attorney General to the Ministry or Minister of National Security, Mr. Weeks, and the Consumer Affairs portfolio will move from the Minister of Home Affairs to the Attorney General, Ms. Kathy Lynn Simmons. In other news, two teenagers were arrested after a 13-year-old boy was stabbed near the Hamilton bus terminal over the weekend. Now, police responded to a 911 call on Saturday afternoon about three males being involved in an altercation. Now, a 13-year-old boy went to hospital later that day with a non-life-threatening upper back injury. He was treated and discharged. As a result, a 15-year-old boy and a 14-year-old had been arrested and released on police bail as the investigation continues. Police say it was too early in the investigation to say if the incident might have been gang-related or linked to other recent incidents of violence. The incident is the latest of several stabbings, including 4 that have involved a teenage victim. Now, those who have already come forward with information have been thanked by police for their efforts, and they have also asked for anyone with video footage of the incident said to have occurred at about 1:35 p.m. to please assist. And a fresh appeal for witnesses has come from police after a bike used when a young father was shot dead is believed to have been patrolled at the scene about 30 minutes before the murder happened almost a year ago yesterday. Police or the vehicle was seen in the area of Tribe Road number 2 in Warwick on the night that Jordan Otterbridge was killed. Now, officers believe that the killing was a case of mistaken identity. And although the rider of the bike and his passenger understood to be the gunman were thought to have gang links, it was understood that the victim had none. Acting Detective Inspector Jason Hayward said, "We have made some progress in the investigation, but we are not complete yet." Now, Mr. Otterbridge was just finished playing cards and was heading home to his family when he was shot several times in the chest at about 10:30 p.m. on April 6, 2021. Now, no one has been charged in connection with the incident, but Mr. Smith said he believed members of the public could help police to wrap up the inquiry. Police told the public earlier that the rider of the motorcycle was dressed in dark-colored clothing and both riders wore dark helmets. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 72 and a low near 67 degrees. We'll see a few sunny spells today, but don't get too comfortable as the weather will turn cloudy later on. Now, despite an area of low pressure passing by to the north early on Thursday, high pressure locally will ensure more fine and dry weather, although it will tend to cloudy weather towards the end of the week as increasingly warm and humid southwesterly winds set in. That's all for our daily hour news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Now let's head back to Jamal and Sherry in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
Thanks so much for that, Lee. Real quickly, with the event on Saturday, do you know if it's going to be any, like, are the heavens opening? Do you have any good news regarding that? Or
Well, you know what? I've been doing my sunny dance. Bermuda's weather is so iffy, as you can see. One day or in the same day, it's raining. The next minute, it's sunny. So, we're just praying for a beautiful day so that way we could, get through this event, which I think is amazing for the island. So.
Okay, so no bad news from her regarding
No bad news, and we're not going to be out there using those words that
Nope.
begin with
No
R.
profanity. The word RAIN. That's how you spell it, right? Yeah. What? I just gotta make sure. We're not going to mention that word. That's going to be considered
No,
profanity
we're not.
between now and Friday. Sherry, what you got for us?
Today is a day of hope, and it's a day of inspiration and motivation for everyone to wake up to the need to rescue children and adults who are passing through phases of abuse of different kinds, sicknesses, traumatic experiences. The primary purpose of observing today is to strive to put an end to child abuse and neglect. Is a time to raise, to call, and give hope to the hopeless in whatever little way we can.
That was yeah, I like that one. No, seriously, that was a touching day.
It was.
So
So
Sherry,
Jamal's going to give me hope as he comes home today with his Chick-fil-A.
why are you telling people my business? Nobody knows I'm coming to Bermuda. Like, you just blabbing, like telling people. You know what I'm saying?
I
All
was
right,
excited.
for your chicken
Sorry.
fillet. What's it called? Chick-fil-A that I'm bringing you. They're all gonna try to attack me and take it from me now. You know.
Make sure
I'm
you
sorry.
declare
I
it,
jumped the
Jamal.
gun. Apologies.
Oh, right.
Make-
Yeah. Customs. Don't hold me up. It's just chicken. Trust me. It's just chicken.
Make sure you declare it. You got to declare it under miscellaneous.
Oh, that's what it goes under? Shucks.
Yes, it was.
I'll have your chicken for you, but I'm telling you, I mean, the fries are mine. All right.
Look, all I'm saying is what time you come here, because I'll meet you at the airport.
Folks, she's a hungry person. What can I say? I'm gonna bring Sancha some too, so I'm just gonna give her a couple of your nuggets. All right.
That's fine.
All right.
That. I'll share with my sister.
All right. See you soon.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
All righty, folks. We're gonna take a quick break. We've got some great guests in his house. They are educators. You know what I say? It's two people I don't criticize on this show. Those would be the police and those who are educators. They have the toughest jobs in Bermuda. Yeah. So, well, I might rough them up today. You know, we have Necheeka Trott. She's a person from the audience often, you know, and you know, it's just, you know, it's who I am.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to her.
One of you. We'll be right back.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's. I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
The history of everyday use of spices extends back thousands of years into antiquity. Since 1976, the Frontier Natural Foods Co-op has been bringing a wide range of exciting and authentic flavors to the table. A comprehensive range of ancient traditional herbs and spices produced organically and sustainably. The results are good news for the environment and more robust, fragrant essential oils in these natural seasonings. This month, we're featuring Frontier Natural Products, at least 95% organic salt-free lemon pepper. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandytown Field. Number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. I'm serious, Sherry. I hope I don't got attacked leaving the airport with Chick-fil-A. You know, I mean, you know, Bermudians like a little fix. You know, I was telling someone, I'm like, you know, Bermudians be taking back McDonald's and donuts from Dunkin' and all that. I'm like, man,
I took back Popeyes and Chick-fil-A last time.
Yeah, I've never taken food back, so this is the first.
Really?
I must like Liana. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Oh, I've done it quite often.
Okay, well, let's bring our guests for the day. We've got Necheeka Trott and Tamicia Darrell from the Bermuda Educators Council. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning. Good morning, Jamal. Good morning, Sherry.
Welcome. Well, real quick before we get into the conversation, do you guys, when you try and travel back to Bermuda, do you usually take like a little donut or a Big Mac for somebody? No?
Very rarely.
Very
it
rarely?
Really has to be a special person request.
Okay.
I definitely have done that as a parent, and my son has smuggled a few $1 McDonald's burgers in his pockets over the years. So yeah, definitely we're that family.
Yeah, it's such a Bermudian thing, because when you tell your friends outside Bermuda, they're like, really? You can do that? I'm like, yeah, Bermudians make a habit, man. Let's not forget the folks who used to catch the New York flight early mornings, go up and come back in the evening. I'm just like, we're a special breed. We are a special breed of people.
You're telling your age.
Oh, sorry about that. But anyway, we're not going to focus on me. It's first off, thank you both for doing this. You know, educators, very important people in our community. We often talk about community issues on this show. But for those who don't know, what is the Bermuda Educators Council? Just give us some background on the organization.
Sure. So just want to say thank you for having us. Really excited to be here this morning. And thanks for those persons that are listening in. Necheeka and I are really excited to be able to talk about Bermuda Educators Council. It is actually an organization. It's a body corporate that was enacted in 2002 by the Minister of Education at that time, which was Paula A. Cox. Our main responsibilities are focused around the registration, certification, and continuing education of all educators in Bermuda. So that's public and private. So similar to a nurses association that we have in Bermuda or the Bermuda Bar Association, we are, and our principal aim is to encourage and maintain high standards of teaching in Bermuda, to enhance the quality of learning, and also to improve the professional conduct of educators in Bermuda. So we are the professional body, separate from the Ministry of Education, separate from any other organization, a body corporate that is legislated to be the watchman on the wall, so to speak, to ensure quality instruction and learning in Bermuda.
I love every bit of what you just said, and you kind of answered the next question, but you can probably go in depth for my next question. Is why is an organization like this necessary?
So the Bermuda Educators Council is very similar to international licensure organizations all over the world. As a professional body, you always want to have an organization that can maintain and implement the standards of quality for that particular organization. And so it's very necessary in Bermuda, and you'll find it all over the world, in which teachers have to have specific credentials or qualifications in order to qualify to actually teach and stand in front of students. And so our job is to make sure that high quality standards are maintained and that the best of the best are actually in front of our students. So it's not a job to be taken lightly. We take our role very seriously, and so for us, it's a privilege to be able to serve in this capacity to ensure that licensure credentialing is up to international standards in Bermuda.
I know you said this organization started back when 2002 when former Premier Paula Cox was Minister of Education. And I'm going to be honest with you, before I received this email, I had not heard of it. The information you sent was helpful. And so I'm glad that we're having this conversation, and hopefully, it almost could tie into what we were talking about earlier about young children and legislation and policies, because it's one big, it's one and the same. But go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. And how does the council differ from the Bermuda Union of Teachers?
That's a great question. So we are a legislated body. That means that we are not accountable to the Bermuda Union of Teachers. We're not accountable to the Ministry of Education or the Department of Education when it comes to the policies that we set. So it is a legislated body. A lot of times the Bermuda Union of Teachers role mainly is to represent teachers and their interests. And they also have interest in promoting, the success of students as well. But the BEC, Bermuda Educators Council, actually came out of a recommendation by the Bermuda Union of Teachers in 2001, and that recommendation actually helped us to have the organization that we are responsible for now. So the BEC is a legislated body corporate. We are a corporate body, where the Bermuda Union of Teachers is not a legislated body, but their role is to also advance the interest of teachers in Bermuda.
And I'm just sliding off topic just a little bit. So with the legislation itself and the council itself, when you become a teacher now, you will have to go through your body in order to go ahead and become a teacher or be a certified teacher. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's correct. I'll let Necheeka handle that. That's part of her team.
Hi, I'm the deputy chair for professional licenses. So when teachers or persons in the community want to apply to work in a private or public school, they have to fill out an application. They have to do police background check. We check their credentials in terms of their degrees, transcripts. They also have to get lots of references. So there's a host of things that we do to ensure that persons that are in front of our young people meet a certain criteria or standard in order to teach.
Okay. And going along with your strategic plan. What is it? I see that it's for 2021 to 2025, and you have 6 strategic priority areas. What are those areas of focus, and why are they deemed to be priorities?
That's a great question. We actually had a focus group over several days that included community. It also included educators, and the current and former members of the BEC were also invited to contribute to the direction of the organization. I just want to mention before we go into the 6 priorities that the Bermuda Educators Council is a volunteer organization. So it's comprised of volunteer educators who over the years have dedicated and committed their time to the organization. As a result of it being a volunteer organization, we haven't always had a legacy of being as responsive to our members as is required. Necheeka talked about, the applications and things like that. And we haven't always been as responsive as we needed to be. So with our strategic plan, we are trying to rebrand the Bermuda Educators Council and really focus and hone our energies around our new mission and vision and core values that will kind of help to right the ship, so to speak, as to where we want to go. So there's specific key priority areas. The main one that we are focusing on is educator success. It's also operational and administrative efficiencies, value-added relationships, good governance, culture and brand definition, and then finally marketing and community engagement. That's a huge piece because the community doesn't really know who we are, let alone what it is that we do. So those priorities will take us over the course of the next 4 years. What I want to say specifically, though, that's going to be very unique about Bermuda Educators Council, which might be different than a lot of organizations, is that transparency is so important to us and accountability to our members. So you will see, and they will see over the next few months, that we will actually be rolling out our strategic plan in a way that has a very unique accountability piece to it, in which we will have an online virtual war room, if you want to call it that, in which all of our action plans, all of our key priorities, all of our goals over the next 4 years will be posted. And you can actually see where we are in reaching each one of those priorities. And then you'll be able to hold us accountable. I think a lot of things are done in the dark, but we're an organization that loves to work in the sunlight. We have a fantastic and dynamic new team that believe in working in the sunlight. Education deserves people that work in the sunlight. And so the Bermuda Educators Council will be an example for how you can move education forward in Bermuda in the sunlight.
You used my favorite word, transparency. And you mentioned in regards to obtaining a licensure or certification with your council, Necheeka, in regards to background checks, transcripts, and so forth. Will you eventually have to sit an exam of some sort? I know that that's something that you have to do out here in the United States, in various different states. Is that something that will be possible for Bermuda as well?
Well, that's a good question, Sherry. We recently released a feedback form. The Bermuda Educators Council, as Tamicia has just shared, we are going through a reprofessionalization process. As a part of that, we are looking at each criteria of educators to determine what their credentials should be. So we are exploring the opportunity to maybe engage our teachers in a content and a pedagogy course before they be able to obtain their license. So that's an investigative process that we are going through right now, with the anticipation of engaging with our stakeholders on April 12th and 19th in Zoom sessions, so they may come voice their opinion. As Tamicia said, we are into ensuring transparency and hearing from our stakeholders. So that's an opportunity for them to engage and hear about our plans for the future.
And I know that you guys touched on it somewhat, but just how important is licensure to being a teacher?
Licensure is the key. You are not supposed to teach in any school from 4-year-olds up to S4 in public schools, or up to grade 12 in private schools, without having a license. In the event that the individual is found to be teaching without a license, they can be fined up to $5,000 according to the BEC Act. Because what licensure does, it ensures that that individual has met a criteria, has met a particular standard. And we also go in a little deeper. So we looked at when we look at the transcripts, you also look at, is this person qualified just to teach primary school? Is this person qualified to teach mathematics? So it's not just a broad license. You are only able to teach in the area for which you have acquired your academic credentials.
If you have any questions or comments for Necheeka or Tamicia, please send them through. I'll try to get through as many as possible. I have to go here because I wouldn't be me if I didn't. If the changes that are being proposed by the government of Bermuda for parish primary schools and specific schools in Bermuda, how does that change the overall plan, or does it change the overall plan, what the Bermuda Educators Council is setting out to do with educators?
For us, it's about being very strategic about building and developing relationships. The Bermuda public school system is only one stakeholder that we have. We have many because we service both public and private schools. However, we recognize that as signature schools are about to come online, there might be different categories that we might need to begin to develop outside of the traditional categories that we currently have for licensure. We have, and our research team in the professional learning committee, I chair that team as well. We had begun to look at different countries around the world and how they actually tackle that particular issue around signature schools, or for not a signature school in particular, but rather when you have these non-traditional pathways to licensure. So one of the things Necheeka had mentioned about the survey that we have put out is a new category that we would like feedback on called the limited authority teacher. This will be licensure for persons that are certified journeymen, persons that have expertise in a particular area that is unique to education. And so it's about developing the relationships, finding out what it is that the stakeholders need, and then trying to develop something that can further undergird where it is that they're trying to go. But one of the things I wanted to say based on the question that Sherry had asked, I think ties into this question, is that contrary to what many people assume, a high quality teacher workforce is not just the simple result of some traditional or cultural respect for teachers. It requires very deliberate policy choices, and high performing countries like Singapore and Finland and those types of places, they're well and world renowned for their education systems. They are very strategic around putting the energy up front regarding who they want to hire. They concentrate on attracting the right persons and preparing and supporting them. And so in that regard, with where Bermuda is going, that is something that the BEC is also very much interested in, is kind of creating this talent pool or helping to nurture the talent pool by being very prescriptive and selective regarding who is actually given a teacher license.
I actually don't have a problem with this. And the reason I say that is, and this is no offense to anyone who has gone the route of formal education and gotten your degree right up to a doctorate, but everyone has a degree now, right? And I'm not saying it's easy. But everyone has it. So how do we then differ who's going to be actually good in the classroom versus who's just good in like teaching in a classroom versus someone who's a good learner? So I just think there's a difference. So I appreciate it. Mind you, as I've listened to this conversation, I'm wondering, well, what's the cost for the educator? Is there a cost, this whole licensing and exam, and does that set them back?
No, the cost of the process is that an application fee is $50, and then depending on the class of license you have or applying for, you pay a fee. So majority of our clientele are teachers, so their fee is $140 for 2 years. So when you break that down, that's $70 a year. You break it down even further. Out of 10 months, they're paying $7 a month. In order to maintain their license. That money goes towards supporting the organizations and the things we have to offer and to support teachers or educators in Bermuda.
Okay, I'm going to get to the questions, but one more thing is, since 2002, would you be able to show like how Bermuda's educators, both public and private, like some of the changes that have improved the standard since things have been in place? Like, do we have any results on that, or how you've eradicated bad educators, or like how students have benefited? Do we have any of that that can be shared with people so that they can have a better understanding that it's not just a standing organization, but we can show you the progress and how the classroom is improved due to our organization?
That's a fantastic question because student outcomes are the reason why we exist. However, based on the history of the organization, I started out earlier by saying that it is a volunteer organization, a volunteer educator organization. However, what is on the radar is making sure that we maintain professional learning standards for teachers. So we have a very good partnership with the National Educators Institute in Bermuda, and they have developed, adopted, and amended teaching standards for professional learning, for example. We also will be adopting and adapting those for use for us as well. The reason why I mention that is because there's a strong correlation between professional learning and student outcomes. And so for us, as we begin to move, it's part of our strategic plan to actually look at professional learning as a practice of job embedded learning for teachers. And so that job embedded then means that student outcomes has to be as a result. So as we move into, Necheeka had mentioned about, how much teachers have to pay to get a license, how many professional development hours is also a requirement of that. But as we move forward, it won't be just about the collection or the accumulation of professional development hours, but rather opportunities for teachers to submit artifacts and information and data that strategically points to the intentionality of what they learned or why they're part of the organization and how that improves student outcomes. So that is not part of our past. It's definitely going to be part of our present and our future.
Love to hear it. Awesome. Let's see some of the questions. Donna Reed's asking, would that exam process be in place for new teachers beginning in September 2022?
We are still, as we shared in the dialogue section of this, these changes would be for September 2022, depending. But of course, when it comes to the licensure exam, we do have to do some additional work if we deem that's the way that we wish to go. So the licensure changes are for September of 2022.
2023.
2023.
All right. Yeah. Sean Smith's asking, I may be a little bit slow, but does your organization cover the lectures at the Bermuda College?
No, it does not cover the lectures at the Bermuda College. We are primarily focused on K through 12 or primary school, preschool up to senior school.
All righty. Michelle White, she's asking, is the BEC involved in issues around teachers' actual engagement or performance with students once they are in the system? I pretty much feel you answered that, but you can take it on.
I will expound on that because one of the things we haven't touched on is professional conduct. And that is one of the legs that we also stand on as far as our remit. And so when it comes to student outcomes or teacher evaluation, that's the role of the school. But also professional conduct becomes an issue if a parent, a teacher, a community member, or anyone has an issue with the performance, the conduct of the teacher in the classroom, that can also be something that the BEC looks at. We have a discipline committee that's actually enshrined in Schedules 1 and 2 of our Act that speaks to a discipline committee who's responsible to carry out investigations. The investigations then go to the professional conduct committee, and there can be consequences for inappropriate conduct both on and outside of a school campus. And there are 4 particular repercussions, I guess you could say, if a teacher is found guilty of inappropriate conduct in any way. So we are governed by the Act, but we also have a 2010 Code of Practice that all teachers who have a license with Bermuda Educators Council must adhere to. So yes, the question is student outcomes. We're trying to work on that with professional licensure, but because of the legislation as a body corporate, we are also responsible for maintaining and ensuring that professional conduct is always seen and evidenced in classrooms and in the community.
All righty. I mean, it's impressive. It's stuff that I think I've learned a lot this morning. Why an organization like this, that it exists, why it exists, and the long-term and short-term strategic plans. So thank you all so much for trusting us. Anything you want to leave the audience with? Because I think when we speak about education, it's always so much criticism. It's a hot button issue in Bermuda. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with, like as far as, because I'm hopeful based on people like yourselves being involved in this and trying to create a better space for our students, because Whitney Houston said it, children of the future, right? What do you want to leave the audience with?
I would definitely say that the Bermuda Educators Council is responsible for both public and private schools. And I think a lot of as far as the teachers that teach in those schools, and I think a lot of times the public schools get a bad rap, and it's always assumed that the better teachers are at the private schools and the worst teachers are at the public schools. And that's simply just not the case. Bermuda Educators Council provides licensure for teachers in both of those particular pools, both public and private schools. And so I think that what we can focus more on is raising the standards of quality of teaching, period, supporting teachers, making sure that they are successful, whether they're at a public school or a private school, because at the end of the day, these are all of our children, whether someone pays for them to go to school or the taxpayer is paying for them to go to school. These are all of our children, and we can only begin to recreate and build a nation that we can be proud of based on the quality of education that they're getting. So we need to make sure that once we get the teachers in there, we can deal with equity issues around both of those types of systems. But I just really want people to know that the Bermuda Educators Council are there as a body corporate to ensure that quality teaching and learning happens in our classrooms.
All righty.
And I would just like to add to that, we'll encourage the community, because it's not just for teachers to provide feedback. This is a community issue. I encourage parents, businesses to have the opportunity to look at the licensure requirements that we hopefully will be implementing in September 2023 and give their feedback. We need to hear from the community, because this is a community, as Tamicia said, this is private and public schools and all individuals or young people in those institutions.
All righty. Necheeka, Trott, Tamicia, Darrell, Bermuda Educators Council, thank you so much for the conversation. And please know, if you ever need our platform again, just reach out. We'll be happy to educate the audience and our community about the work that's being done to improve the standards in our classrooms.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, folks. If you appreciated that conversation with those ladies from the Bermuda Educators Council, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Thank you so much to them. Sorry, I really did learn a lot, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. I just, every time we do this show, and I know some of my former teachers are listening. I'm just like, I hope they forgive me. I really do hope.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system, providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
All right. Thanks again to One Communications, People's Pharmacy, Medical House, Lindos, and thanks again to our guests today from the Bermuda Educators Council, Tamicia, Darrell, and Necheeka Trott. Appreciate the conversation very much, and I really do hope that the audience found it helpful. Sherry, any final thoughts on today's program?
Well, for our first topic of conversation today, it definitely starts at home. And as you said, Jamal, the minister has a very hard job. And I hope that if we can help him by helping our children at home. As far as the Bermuda Education Councils, I love it. The fact that we have a governing body that will assist with certifying and licensing teachers so that they can be at the best quality they can be for our kids is awesome. So,
yeah. I just think as far as advice for the Minister of National Security, I don't think the excuse that the governor controls the police is good enough. I believe that there are policies and legislation that can create a better way for Bermuda. What they are, I don't quite know, but I know that we can't just keep saying that we don't control the police. I do think it's a broader community problem, and I think that the community needs to look within and find the answers to that. As far as the Educators Council, while I don't necessarily agree that I'm a firm believer that formal education doesn't create a more intelligent population or people. I've never been a believer of that, but it shouldn't hinder it. It should give us a well-rounded group of people with a better understanding of how the world works. Same with certifications. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to be great teachers or educators, but definitely it brings some form of accountability and awareness and understanding. So definitely appreciate the Bermuda Educators Council for what they are attempting to do in the strategic plan. But it's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Sherry thought she was getting away from it, folks. Sherry, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Who wrote and performed the duet Shallow with Bradley Cooper?
Oh, Lady Gaga.
My goodness. Hold on. Let me get. I ain't even got you ready. Go ahead, girl. You didn't even give nobody a chance.
Nope.
I'm gonna credit Sancho with your improvement in this game. I'm gonna credit something. Somebody else comes along and you're just like, all right, let's have it. Like I'm on the ball. What was that movie called with that they sang that song? Was it A Star Is Born or something like that?
Say that again.
Stars
Born. Yeah.
Yeah. See, Larry's taking credit too. His like, yeah. I'm rubbing. I was going to use him. I was going to say, but yeah, he
yes, you are, Larry.
And Pika said that was too easy for you, so I don't know.
No.
I didn't expect it to get that one, folks. I didn't. You've got some daily inspiration for us, right?
I do, and fitting for today. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Martin Luther King Jr.
Character, folks. Character. Yeah, that is important. I know you wanted me to share, so I had posted on LinkedIn yesterday that I've connected with a lot of people on LinkedIn throughout South Florida, people who want to meet for coffee, so on, over the last probably 3 or 4 months. And so I finally met with someone yesterday with a company that I'm interested in working with. And it was one of the most inspiring meetings I've had. It was a very good meeting, like both coming like from the same place. And I will tell people like networking works. LinkedIn works. And I know for Bermuda, many people be like, oh, Bermuda's so small, whatever. I say it all the time. Grow beyond your environment. It can only do you good. Get on these social networks like LinkedIn and make some connections. Find people who are doing what you're interested in, doing what you do. I think might have been Charles Jeffers II. I'm not sure, but someone said it. Make your friends before you need them.
Yeah.
I will leave you with that. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we love you. Before we love you, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman, my friends. Make it a safe and great day. I'm going to drink what's in my cup, and that ain't none of your business. Have a good Peace.